First step in installing the force beam is going to be marking our locations. Standard force beam installation, we like to place the beams 2.5 feet off the corner and no more than 5 foot apart. This is for a standard or typical wall height, which would be 11 course basement. The taller the wall is, the higher the grade is outside, the closer the beams need to be together. So on a 12 or 13 course wall, we may need to move that 2 foot off the corner, no more than 4 foot apart. And we have a graph that shows that. The actual first step in locating the beams, then once we've got everything marked in place, or places marked, we're going to set in all our bottom brackets and then place the beams up on the bracket and up tight to the joists in each location. We then fasten the bottom bracket by making sure that it's tight and the beam is tight to the wall. We're then going to apply our 2 red heads or concrete fasteners into the holes. When applying to the footer, as we are here, you're going to use the back 2 holes furthest from the edge of the footer, closest to the wall. This will get the concrete anchor into more concrete. If we were putting them on the floor, you would use the front 2 holes furthest from the wall and therefore further out into the concrete of the floor. We use our shield drill and our 7/16 inch drill bit to drill a hole on each side of the beam, drilling it approximately 4.5 to 5 inches deep because we're applying a 4-inch anchor bolt, making sure the hole's cleaned out of all the dust and debris. We're then going to use our lag gun and apply the red heads into each one of our holes, making sure they're down nice and tight so the bracket isn't going to move. Once the bottom bracket is installed, we'll move to the installation of the top bracket. The top bracket, you have to pull the spring tight so that it is straight and all the rows of the spring are tight, but you don't want to over tighten it. You then take the bracket, set it up onto the joist, squared up to the beam. You then mark the 2 top holes with a marker. We're then going to use our right angle drill or a cordless drill and drill our 2 holes. Once the holes are drilled, we apply the top bracket with 2 3/4 inch bolts, a washer and a nut on the back side of that, and we snug everything up nice and tight again so the washer just starts to bite into the wood so we know everything is tight. We are then going to loosen the spring that we tightened in the first step. We back the nut off of it so that all the pressure is off. Then using a pair of channel locks, we will remove the long bolt that's there and replace it with our long 3/4 inch bolt. Again, using our lag gun, we're just going to install it so that it's tight to the beam. And then once all the beams are installed, we'll come back with our torque wrench and tighten everything down. Once the all thread is installed, then you can move on to the next beam. All right, so then we're going to talk about the installation of a force beam on a wall where the joists are running parallel. When they're running perpendicular, the bracket is simply attached to the joist itself. In this case, we need to install some back blocking and an underboard so that we have material to install the top bracket to. We're going to mark all our locations like we did the first time. We're then going to go in and apply kickers between each joist approximately up to 8 foot back so that we can mount our bottom board and apply the pressure to the joist. We do this by simply measuring between each joist bay, cutting a 2x10 or a 2x8 or a 2x12, whatever your joist size is, you're going to want to use the same size board. We cut it so that it fits tight, fasten each one with 2 16-penny nails on each side of the board to each joist. We're going to do this as far back as we can. You may run into obstacles such as gas lines, water lines, or in this, as you see here, a piece of duct work. When we run into duct like this, we can lay the board flat. If you run into a water line or a gas line that you need to notch the board out, that's fine. The idea is to get as much of the board touching each joist as possible, then nailing it into place. Once you have your back blocking done, up to a minimum of 3 bays, we prefer to see as much as 8 foot, which would be approximately 5 to 6 bays back. We're going to use a 2x10 that we mount under the joist. We do that by placing the board up, temporarily nailing it in place, and then we're going to drill 2 holes into each location where the board crosses a joist. You don't want to drill them in a straight line because it can split the board. So you're going to want to start with 2 bolts on the outside. On the next joist, do 2 closer towards the middle, and then back to the outside and inside, rotating each one so the board doesn't split. Once all your holes are drilled, you're going to take the 3-inch lag and the lag gun and apply a lag to each hole, tightening it up so that, again, the washer is just starting to bite into the wood so that we know everything is up nice and tight. Once all the back blocking is done and the bottom boards are applied, we will measure from bottom bracket to our bottom board, cutting the I-beam about a 1/2 inch short of that measurement so that you have a little bit of play in it. And then the I-beam is installed just like a right way. We will install the bottom bracket, kicking it tight to the wall, applying our 2 bottom red heads, then coming up, marking the top bracket, drilling the holes, installing the 3/4 inch nut and bolts to the top, releasing the spring, putting in the 3/4 inch long bolt, and then coming back with the torque wrench to torque everything down. Once all the beams are installed in the basement, we'll get out our torque wrench, set it to
25
foot-pounds, and then we're going to go around and we're going to torque each beam down to
25
foot-pounds, which is the maximum torque for the I-beam.